Well, hey guys, Jonathan Doyle with you once again. Welcome to the Daily Message. Please make sure you have subscribed. Come on, do it. You know you want to. Hit that big subscribe button. It does help. Helps the channel to grow, helps the algorithms to do their thing and make sure that more people are hearing this encouragement. Why does it matter? Because the world's a pretty challenging place right now, don't you think? There's so much division, conflict, I think the more light and positivity and encouragement we can put out there, the better. So I'm trying to play my small part. Hit that subscribe button. Grab yourself a free copy of my book, Bridging the Gap. There will be a link here. And if you like what you're hearing, there's some other links there for speaking and coaching stuff with me. Today we're going to do a quote from Benjamin Franklin. I'm a big fan of the founding fathers of the United States and founding mothers. There's some really brilliant women that we're going to reference as well. These men and women were living at a pretty high level. They were familiar with suffering and difficulty. They were deeply convicted about what they were trying to do. They had purpose. They had a lot of courage, and they'd experienced a lot of life. So there's a lot of wisdom there. So today we're going to jump into a quote from Benjamin Franklin where he's going to talk about how we deal with tough times. Let's do it. When you get into a tight place and everything goes against you, till it seems as though you could not hold on a minute longer, never give up then. For that is just the place and time that the tide will turn. All right, this is simple but powerful, right? It usually tends to be in the moments where things are extremely difficult for us that remarkable things can happen. Part of that is because as humans, I think we tend to vastly underestimate our capacity. We tend to operate in a relatively self-protective mode most of the time. So most of the time we're just trying to get through the day in a regular pattern, extending and expending a similar amount of energy as we did the day before. This is kind of the homeostasis principle, homeostasis, that we've evolved as a species to be quite self-protective, to protect ourselves, to conserve energy. So often when things are difficult, it can be hard to really press into that difficulty and endure. But some of the most amazing things happen from that decision, and it is a decision, to continue when we're pretty sure we can't. Give you some examples. Many of you know I'm a big fan of David Goggins. If you've ever come across him, some of you will. They call him the toughest man alive. African-American guy, ex-US Navy SEAL. His book, You Can't Hurt Me, is just phenomenal. I hope I'll remember to put up a link here to it. Now, he's the kind of guy that really burst on the scenes because a super wealthy American businessman called Jesse, what's his last name? I have to remember that. Hired David Goggins to come and train him as his personal trainer, living in the house for months at a time. And one of the key things that Goggins taught him was what he calls the 40% rule, which is this idea they learned in the Navy SEALs that when you think you're at the point of collapse and giving in, they teach them that you're only at 40%, that you've got all this left to go. There's something to it. I'll give you another little personal example. I do, as you know, a huge amount of training, and I'm often on the stationary bike using some pretty fancy software, racing against other people in real time. And so often when you're right at the limit, like which for my age, my heart rate in a sprint will be up around almost at 190, which for my age is extremely high. So, you know, max heart rate's usually 220 minus your age. So my max heart rate should be somewhere around 170 something. And it's now, you know, in a race, I'll be doing 190. I don't do that all the time. But what I can tell you is that often when you're really hurting and your heart rate's there, it truly is a mental battle. It's truly that it's not that your body can't keep going or my body can't keep going. It's that your brain just wants to stop. So I have learned over many years that there's this real tension between what your body's capable of doing and what your mind wants to do. So let's take that theory and apply it to what Franklin's talking about today, which is basically that every time in life you're doing something significant, whether it's a relationship challenge, a business challenge, financial, physical, spiritual challenge even, the magic tends to come somewhere after the decision to endure has been made. Now we need wisdom, right? Because the question becomes, well, do we just endure everything? What if everything sucks? Do we just keep doing stuff that we hate all the time? No, you've got to be quite selective about it. The basic advice I give people is you never persevere at things that are highly destructive. Destructive, I mean to you physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, or to relationships. So if you're doing something, enduring in something that is destructive of core relationships, let's say, something I've learned recently, like I've begun to tailor my training a little bit because my kids are at an age where they need a lot of presence and time. And so I'm not doing the 5-6 hour training sessions that I used to do as much. I'll still do them when I can, and it's respectful of the family, but I'm learning that I'm tapering the endurance to match the reality of the relationships that I have. So what this means is you just look into your life and ask yourself where you're currently being tested and where something's difficult. And ask yourself, is what I'm pursuing really worthwhile? Is what's on the other side of this endurance meaningful to me? Is it likely to grow me as a person and contribute to the lives of other people? If the answer is yes, then sometimes you just got to be tough and you've got to endure the difficult time, because it just seems a universal principle. And on the other end of difficulty, at the other end of hardship, is always some kind of growth. Whether it's growth in self-respect, like you've just come through a difficult season and you get a resilience from it, or whether there's a real payoff, either financially, professionally, personally, there's a real benefit from having gone the distance. So let's stick with what Franklin tells us. It's when we think we can't go on that we actually can, and sometimes we must. Sometimes we must, whether it's for ourselves or for others, we must persevere, because the magic is truly on the other side of that moment. So be encouraged, my friends. I just want to encourage you and say, if you're facing a difficult, challenging time, hang in there, persevere. I know it's a cliche, but it is often darkest before the dawn, and amazing stuff can happen on the other side of it. All right, please make sure you've subscribed, grab a free copy of the book, Bridging the Gap. Check out the other links to speaking and coaching. My name's Jonathan Doyle. I have another message for you tomorrow.